And when you're researching, reporting, or even writing, what part of on the continuum of this process in be it a book or article, do you feel most alive and engaged?
I just really love literary gossip. And so I think that those are when I start to get something that feels juicy to me in that kind of way, that really helps me understand the world that the people lived in and how they thought about things and sort of the ways in which they could be catty or when they capture a detail about someone's mannerisms, that's when I feel particularly hooked. And obviously, that's not a strength of academic writing. So that's one of the things I love about historical narratives. You kind of need to go, you know, you need to be a truffle pig and go find all of those great little concrete details. And your story actually can only be as good as the details you find. So
I'm always someone who loves getting a sense of the repertorial tools in your bag, the kind of notebooks you like, either or the pens or the pencils, and how you go about curating and gathering that information. Like what are those things that you like at your disposal that you're comfortable with, that are in your satchel as you're heading out there in the field, so to speak?
I don't like to write on expensive paper. Always feel that I need cheap paper, so I tend to have like the cheapest lined notebooks.
Hmm. Like those modeled
Um,
black notebooks that are like $1 at
yeah,
Staples.
or just yeah, exactly that sort of thing. I write on a lot of loose pieces of paper, the backs of request slips from libraries, and I tried not to write too much on paper anymore, actually, just because I'm afraid of losing things. So I tend to put things in a Google Doc very quickly. Yeah, I like to read on paper though, so I do try and get my sources, as many as possible, in print, and I like to annotate, I like to highlight. I find it easier to find things when I go back if I've forgotten where they are, if I have kind of marked up my paper that way.
And when it comes to your writing and where you are to date in your career, what is some good advice that you've received from somebody, or like a cherished mentor, or just advice that you've just hard won over doing research and writing for years?
I really like Robert Caro's turn every page line. I feel the truth in that every time I go to work on something and I'm getting nervous about the time I've invested and I start to panic that I haven't found what I needed to make the story good. Just knowing that you just need to sit as long as you can with the sources and turn every page and hopefully you're going to eventually find what you're looking for.
How do
Yeah,
you
what else?
know to because as you've expressed, you're someone who works operates well when a deadline is nearing, and yeah, Carol's turn every page, like it's I love it. That's a guy who operates on a almost geologic time scale when it comes to
This is
writing his
true.
books, and eventually it's like, yeah, sometimes you feel like, all right, yeah, I do want to turn every page, or like, oh, maybe there's another stone out there to be to be overturned, or the real nightmare scenario is not even knowing there's a certain stone to be overturned. Like, oh my god, I didn't even realize that thing existed. And now there's like thousands of pages over there. Eventually, you got to turn that faucet off. So, just for you and your experience, at what point do you feel like, all right, I gotta turn this off and I gotta move
Mhm.
on to the next phase?
I tend to do research all the way through until the last draft, so I'm really bad about turning it off. But I think also knowing that the best writing is done writing, and trying to keep that idea in mind that there will be another piece. This isn't the sinking ship you're going to go down on. So
Hmm.
also letting go, and letting it stand, even if it's not perfect. Um, And then, actually, when I was working on my PhD, the thing that stuck with me the most was when someone told me that the real art is learning what to leave out, not what to put in.
Mm.
So I think that is a form of discernment that is really important to cultivate.